What is up, True Hearts? I'm Ryan Harder, and welcome back to another episode of RMH Adventures. So, let's address the elephant in the room right away, right? So why did I just call you all True Hearts? Well, in the past 2 weeks, you all have shown me that you are seriously true of heart by giving my last video, my inflatable kayak trip to the Susquehanna Statue of Liberty, 153 views, 10 comments, and 7.7 total hours of watch time, as well as 32 subscriptions. And I am forever grateful for that. I am thoroughly impressed and absolutely touched that so many people tuned in for that one, and actually cared about my adventure and the things that I had to say. And if you're new here and you haven't seen that video yet, welcome! And I'll link to it at the end of this video. So now, True Hearts, turn off all the lights and put on your headphones, because today's video is a spooky one. Back at the end of July, Egon and I took a trip to the Cashtown Inn near Gettysburg, Pennsylvania for an all-night paranormal investigation. And I don't want to give anything away, but we caught some pretty cool activity. And the other thing that I wanted to do with this video was give you some backstory on a place that maybe you haven't heard of before. So those stories are going to be both paranormal and historical. I actually ended up writing a 2-page research paper for this one, and I really enjoyed putting this video together. So be sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and roll that footage. We finally made it to the Cashtown Inn, and I am standing outside. I'm about to go in, and we can go in and check it out. So follow me. I really wanted to check this place out. I saw it on an episode of Ghost Hunters all the way back in season 4, and they got some really cool activity here. They got a couple of EVPs, and Grant had a picture on his table. It's actually in room 3. Supposedly that frame moved. I actually saw it on camera, so I know it did. So this place is rife with paranormal activity. They also got a bunch of footsteps while they were the only people in the building. So I'm gonna be up super late. I'm hoping that everyone else goes to sleep so that if I hear any footsteps, I'll know that it's paranormal. I'm standing here on the porch, and this is where the tavern was. It's where people would come in and get a drink. So we're gonna go in there and see that in a little while. There's a tour that starts at 9 o'clock, and he's gonna show us all that stuff, so that'll be really neat. You can see in the window there a little bit. I imagine that's not the original bar, but who knows? It could be. I don't know. A couple of tables out here. And this place goes on a lot longer than you think it would. You think it's just here? Just wait. There's more. So, I don't know what this door is. Oh, this door here. This one is the restroom, which is not open. I'm assuming that this was probably open a long, long time ago. Maybe they'll show us that a little later on. I don't know if that's part of the tour or not. Now this back here these are other people's rooms, so I'm not going to go back here. But there's a little porch here. I'm going to open up some beers a little later on. I've got a Yingling, which did exist back then. So we're going to see if maybe that might be a trigger object for some of these guys. Maybe a few of these guys were drinkers and they want some Yingling. That'd be pretty neat. So we're gonna see what happens with that. The front now. Nice little porch. See that there? And so you know I'm not lying to you. I am actually in a Civil War building right now. I really like all the lights and everything they've got around here. This place is really neat. So there's a few signs that I want to show. Talking about the history, things like that. I'm not going to read them to you or anything like that, but this is talking about how the battle took place around here, basically. And a lot of these people were killed around here and brought here to the field hospital downstairs that we're going to check out a little bit later. So there's that, and then there's this over here. So this is right here saying that the, let's see if I can get maybe a little more light on that. There we go. And it doesn't say this, but they got murdered really bad. And so a lot of them came right back here to the Cashtown Inn and went down to the basement, like I said, where we're gonna check out later. And a lot of them died there, where they had limbs removed and things like that. The episode of Ghost Hunters told some cool stories, and we're gonna see if the guy here on the tour at 9 o'clock does the exact same type of stories and shares the history of the place with us. That'd be really cool. So I've got one more little marker here that I want to show you guys, and then we're gonna go inside and check the place out. So this is the historic Cashtown Inn. And so the original inn looks like it was just this part right here. Just that part right there. And then that part was built on later. So this is the original inn right here. Now this is really neat too, because like if you look at this, like look at this main street. This is a turn of the century postcard depicting Cashtown's main streets. And this is what this means right now, okay? See, I look down this street right here. This street, at the turn of the century, all of these houses were here. So this is a super old town, a couple of 100 years old at least, so it's got some history to it. And a lot of people died here. So, really, really hoping that I get some paranormal activity. I really, really want it so bad tonight. I want it so bad. So, anyway, this is Cashtown Inn, and I'm gonna go inside now and show you guys what the place looks like from the inside. And now, let's go back in time to 1797 for a little history lesson, and you can take in the beautiful scenery of this place as I regale you with a tale of loss, death, and bad decision making. But before we begin, I would like to make it clear that I in no way support the views of the Confederate Army, and I love and am grateful for all of my friends, regardless of their race, religion, sexuality, or whatever. This is a safe space. And now, back to the lesson. So back when this place was built, it was a stagecoach stop along the old Chambersburg Turnpike, now known as Old Route 30. The rumor says that the reason they named it Cashtown was because the original owner, Peter Mark, borrowed the money from his father to buy the land and building supplies. So in order to pay his father back, he would only accept cash and no trades. This was pretty rare for the time. So to let travelers know, the inn was dubbed the Cashtown Inn, and the town adopted the name shortly after. In 1815, the tavern license was acquired, and the tavern opened just a little while later. And during that time, this place was host to music just like this in the background, dancing, comedians, and other entertainment and social events you might find in a bar even today. That is, until that fateful night in 1863, when Confederate troops took over this small town 8 miles from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, for the bloodiest week in its entire history. The story goes that on June 28th, General Robert E. Lee got word that the Union Army was just north of the Potomac River and were headed their way. So Lee got word to his army, which included Generals A.P. Hill, Henry Heath, and John D. Imboden, and their thousands upon thousands of troops, and had them all converge on Cashtown. Now the reason they used Cashtown is because the road right next to the inn was part of their supply line to the south. There were rumored to be over 75,000 men in this armed encampment. Imagine that. For silly scale, there's only about 6,500 people in the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, and that thing is absolutely huge. It goes on for hours. The barkeep here at the time, Jacob Mickley, was quoted as saying, "It looked like the entire force under Lee passed 20 feet from my barroom." They set up some stone bread ovens and open cooking fires in the basement to feed everyone, and they hunkered down and made their headquarters right here in the inn, and began to plan their attack on the Union armies. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. There was an eyewitness account written by this field hospital's doctor, Dr. Stem, and in the early afternoon on July 1st, General James Longstreet was seen meeting with Robert E. Lee outside the Cashtown Inn, where they came up with the plan to head off to Seminary Ridge in Gettysburg. Now earlier in the day, A.P. Hill, who was ill, had sent Heath and his division out on a run for medicine and supplies to the same location. Longstreet and Lee find Heath and his men, as well as Ewell and his men, locked in an ambush. Well, Lee sends someone back to get the troops, and him and Longstreet get to battle long before all their other troops arrive. Well, lucky for them, or so they thought, it went great. The Union armies were pushed into what Lee thought was a desperate defensive position, and things were looking great for the Confederate Army. Of course, it was this defensive situation that gave the Union Army the upper hand in the end, but with the victories that day, Lee got a little too cocky and uttered his most famous quote, "If the enemy is there tomorrow, I will attack him." To which Longstreet replied, "If he's there tomorrow, it's because he wants you to attack." You see, Longstreet could see that the Union had the upper hand, but Lee's hubris wouldn't let him believe it. So Lee didn't listen, and around 3 or 4 in the morning, Lee's messenger got back to Cashtown, gathered everyone up, and they started the 8-mile trek to Gettysburg. They arrive on the afternoon of the 2nd to get their asses handed to them, and the 3rd doesn't go much better, especially after the defeat, now known as Pickett's Charge. So, after the battle, the death and injury upon thousands of men, somewhere in the 28,000s for Confederates alone, according to Civil War historians. The survivors retreat back through Cashtown on July 4th, toward the south, supposedly somewhere around 38,000 men, most of them injured. It was said that you could hear them all screaming, either in pain or for death, for a quarter mile before you could actually see them marching into town. The ones that made it this far either got treated or died right here in this building. And during those 2 days, it was said that limbs from amputations were stacked so high outside the basement windows that the windows were completely blacked out and you couldn't even see out of them, which you'll see in a little bit when we go down there is at least 2 feet high all around the building. When the last of the Confederates left Cashtown on July 5th, there was a 17-mile-long wagon train of wounded men retreating to the south, all because of bad decisions made by Generals A.P. Hill and General Robert E. Lee, right here at the Cashtown Inn. Be sure to comment, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed that history lesson. And with that, it's time to head to the basement.
This over here was open fire cooking. This is all open fire cooking. This is all chimney up here above me. And then there was a small bread oven here in the wall as well. So Lee's breakfast is probably still fried on there somewhere, I guess.
This room I find really interesting. Look down at the floor and you'll see a ton of water, but it's not a flooded basement. It's actually a natural spring down here, which is really cool. Now this room here would have been at one point lined with beds, with men biting on bullets and rags, probably screaming in pain, waiting for surgeries or recovering from them. And this room here is actually where the surgeries would have been performed, as well as the next room over that we're going to look at in just a few seconds here. The reason I know that is because there are actually stories of people coming down here and seeing a residual haunt of these surgeries being performed. gonna go into here and we'll see if there are any surgeries scheduled for today. It doesn't look like there's any surgery scheduled for today. So now we're going to take this opportunity to go upstairs while everyone else is preoccupied and check out the tavern. So they don't serve alcohol here anymore, but they do serve a really, really good breakfast, and you don't have to stay the night in order to get it. You can just come here in the morning and get breakfast. It's really, really good. Everything is farm fresh, and it's really, really, oh, check this out though. Oh, this is my favorite part. Watch, watch, watch. Oh, slow motion. And now, I believe this is the part that you've all been waiting for. The paranormal investigation of the Cashtown Inn. About 10 or 15 minutes in, I started catching some EMF activity in my room. I hadn't gotten anything on the EMF in the prior 10 or 15 minutes. I'd been walking around asking questions for forever waiting for a response. And then I finally got one. So grab your favorite Ghostbuster, I've got mine, and strap in for this next segment here, because it's kind of a doozy. If someone is in here, ooh. Can you stop? Walk away from me? Thank you. Are any soldiers in this room? Any generals? Any majors? Any of the decisions that were made here ended the war. How does that make you feel? Focus. Every single time I talk about how they lost the war, it seems like this thing starts lighting up. Happened earlier too. Are you pissed that you lost the war? I'm happy about it. It's time to go lights out. Little did I know that that little burp right there was the precursor to something much bigger. In more ways than one. I let out a really big burp, so please excuse me. I wasn't actually going to put this on camera or, put any part of it on YouTube, but then I ended up getting evidence from it. So, here it is. Check this out. This is really fucking funny. Excuse me. You like that, spirits? Is that burp a good one? It'd be really cool if I could catch something in here. Oh, what was that? move something in here? You moved these earlier. I went down to the tour where they give, the owner comes in, you know, he gives the whole spiel of the place. This penny here and this nickel here were right here and right here when I placed them at 4:10 p.m. Okay? So I came back from that at 10:25 p.m. and these had been moved that far to that location. And I know that I didn't do it because yes, I did come in here to get a few things, but none of them were on top of this or anywhere near this. So I don't see how that could have possibly happened unless someone else moved it. Nobody else was in this room. It was locked the whole time. So there's a little bit of paranormal activity that I didn't necessarily catch on camera, but it did happen. So there you go. Can you light it up to yellow? Just sit down next to it. Touch it. Try to pick it up. Even if you can't, give it a try. Did you hear that? Sounded like footsteps. Was that in here? Was that you walking around? Yeah, once again, there was another one. Wasn't a soul in sight. That was interesting. So that was the first footsteps I've heard. What's that? Nobody out there. After I got a bunch of activity in my room, it started to slow down a little bit, so I decided it was time to go down to the parlor. So I ended up getting some more EMF activity in the parlor, and this place really just kind of blew me away. I got some really incredible responses from this, so check it out. Can you come light up this device in my hand? Thank you. Can you back away from it? Back away from it? Thank you. Let's get the spikes here. Check this shit out. If that was you, can you do it again? Thank Thank you. Can you light it up some more? Maybe up to the yellow real quick? Wow. You lit this up to yellow earlier, just like I asked. Can you do it again? Yeah, it's only green. I don't believe you. Do it to yellow? Trying. Come on, keep going. Keep going. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. There you go. You did it. Good job. Thank you. Can you back off from it? Back up. That was crazy. That was some crazy spikes right there. Thank you for doing that. Can you back away from me? Back away. Stop making it light up. I don't want you to right now. Shit, look at that. Did you see that? Don't want to stop. I did it. Okay, come back and make it light up again. What? Holy shit. You see that? Are you a Confederate soldier? If yes, can you light this up for me? Are you someone else? Wow. Holy shit. Well, who are you then? Can you tell me your name? It's getting chilly, which is really weird. Well, True Hearts, after that chill, it felt like the energy had just been sucked out of the entire place, and I didn't get any more responses for the rest of the night on any EVPs or EMFs or orbs or anything. So I went ahead and I wrapped up my investigation. I also looked at the clock around that time and realized it was about 5:30 in the morning, and I wanted to make sure that I was up in enough time to get breakfast, because the breakfast there was really, really good. So anyway, parting is such sweet sorrow, True Hearts. But until next time, you know exactly what to do. Live harder with all of your heart. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.